Hola, everyone. Welcome to season one of Cultura Convos, a space for reflection and conversations of identidad y cultura meant to educate, inspire, entertain through personal reflections and also conversations with other guests. I'm creating this community to help us become the best version of ourselves and really defining that for ourselves, embracing our cultura while also defining and redefining our own story, our identity, because it's really a lifelong journey. So I'm excited for my own personal reflections, for the reflections that you will have with yourselves and others throughout these episodes. So welcome. I am your host right now, Edith. You can call me Edith or Edith. And I'm also a mother, a daughter, a sister, a life partner, and the author of my debut children's book, Two Homes, Dos Casas, a story about home, a story about cultura. So you can find that at edithsuarez.com. And today I'm really, really excited because my goal with these episodes is that you will reflect, that you may laugh a little, maybe cry a little, who knows. Today I am talking with Joanna Banegas, Trede, and I wanted her to share a little bit more about her story behind Catracha Fitness. So she has her quote unquote 9 to 5, where she does talent acquisition, recruitment, diversity work. And she also is in the process of really pursuing her dream around Catracha Fitness, her passion for movement, for fitness. So in this episode, I wanted to focus a little bit more about that and just her story, her upbringing. So I had a lot of fun doing this. I woke up thinking about it. She always makes me laugh. So if you are in for something special, to be inspired by someone else's story about really just going for what they want and starting that passion, quote unquote, project that is now really becoming a business, this is an episode for you. So thank you for listening. And I look forward to hearing what your thoughts are and any conversations that it sparked. Gracias. Joanna, welcome to
Great.
Cultura Combos. I'm super excited to have you here. And thank
Oh
you for
no.
accepting my invitation. Wait, do you, I always call you Joanna, but do you prefer something different?
Joanna is fine. Joanna, yeah.
Okay, okay.
That's perfect.
You
Yeah.
don't have
Or
to
Joe
have,
or Jojo or Joe, honestly.
yeah. Yeah, I know. People call you Joe. I've never called you Joe.
I know you
But I
always say
do like,
Joanna.
yeah. No, I know some people are like, maybe Joanna, Joanna.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, thank you for joining. I'm excited. So I met Joanna in grad school, and it's interesting because I remember at some point you were telling me like, "Oh, Edith, like I love how you're just so great at building relationships, like connecting with people, at you know, networking, staying in touch, all that stuff." And I remember thinking when you told me that, like that is so funny that you say that because I don't know if you remember the first time we met in this little coffee shop in Boston. And it was
Hmm.
like, I don't know, you took me there. It was like, I think it was like, it had Newberry Street vibes, but I don't know if it was there because I didn't know the neighborhoods at that time in Boston. But it
Okay.
was like full of books.
Oh yes.
And it kind of
Trident.
looked like if we were like in this little corner
Mhm.
of somebody's room with like
Mhm.
all these books. And then you started talking to me about how you'd been living in Boston for a little bit and, "Oh, girl, you need to go here, you need to go there, you need to meet this person," and I'm like in my mind, I was like, "Who is this girl? She is so connected, like, she's like, I wanna be like her." I
Yeah.
remember thinking that, like, "Oh my gosh, I wanna be like her." So when you made that comment to me, I was funny because I still remember thinking, and this was a long time ago,
Mhm.
but I remember thinking like, "Oh, that's so funny that you say that about me," because I thought the exact same thing about you when I met you.
Mhm.
And even when with in grad school, once we started Sin Fronteras, a graduate school program that we started for Latino graduate students, you're the one that came up to me with the idea. So there's so many things about you that inspired me, which is part of why I wanted to have you here. And now you're doing a lot of things. So I'm gonna pause because I want you to introduce yourself and share any little bit of what you want, and then I'll dive right in.
Okay, yeah, thank you for the introduction. I think it's so funny when you ask someone, like what they remember of you, or one of the, and I'm like, I'm trying to remember that moment, but people have all these stories about me, and like maybe you, and you're trying to remember that. So it's always funny when people recall like that moment. I'm like, I don't I'm glad you had that moment with me, but it's called Trident Cafe. I think I do remember that, but on Newberry Street. It's a very nice place to take friends and like loved ones. So I'm glad you enjoyed that, but that you remember that I said that you're a connector, because you are. So I guess my name is Joanna Banegas-Trede. I'm Honduran-American, and I was born and raised in North Carolina. And I moved to Boston over 10 years ago, to pursue grad school and my MBA. And I met my husband here, but I mean, I guess a little bit about, what why I'm here today is because I love you to death, and I love what you're creating in this space in terms of our culture, in terms of who we are, our multi-complex identity, and how that's all like valuable, right? But those stories needs to be uplifted. So I'm really excited to be here today to share a part of me, and also to share a part of who we are together, because I feel like there's so many stories that we have that we can share with the world of our, like, badass Latina moments. So I'm really excited to be here today.
Awesome, thank you. No, that's true. I have similar stories where people are like, "Oh my gosh, I never forgot that one day you told me," and I'm like, "Wow, let me write that down because
You're
that's pretty
right.
powerful," but I didn't remember I said that.
my I love that.
Um,
My sister at my wedding, she for her wedding speech, and I think, I guess this is going out in the world. She recalled a moment we were together singing Flow Rider in the car, and I was like, I don't remember that at all. And
yeah,
I was
no,
like,
that
do
is
you
true,
remember
like,
that?
moments that
Yeah,
are impactful for you, like,
yeah.
that's why they say, like, in us being who we are, just being ourselves, which I think you are one of those people, and we'll get into that, you're inspiring other people and might not even know it, and it
Hmm.
doesn't even always have to be inspiring, it could just be, like, I just love that moment with Joanna, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I do think, like, this space is also allowing to dive deeper even into our conversations because you can have a lot of friends, doesn't necessarily mean that you really dive deep and understand their story, you know?
Hmm.
So, okay, so one of the things that you do or one of your passions is, movement and fitness and even, like, you've talked to me about, like, redefining that and, like, what
Hmm.
does that mean? So I wanna start with Catracha Fitness because that is part of who you are in the sense of, like, that is a big part of you right now. So I wanna learn more about Catracha Fitness, and before you even dive into it, talk to us about that name, like, what is Catracha? Because
Yes.
I always thought that was, like, something insulting that you don't say, and then no, you just like, "Yeah, Catracha Fitness." I was like, "Oh, what? I didn't even know, like." I don't know, I always just assumed that because I think growing up, like, if in a Mexican household, I don't know, I think there's certain things other cultures call each other, but, you can't say it. So, anyway, start there and then dive into what Catracha Fitness and, like, what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that you brought this up, because at the moment it is a big part of my life, and hopefully it'll become all my life when I'm rich in 10 years. Yeah, so Catracha Fitness. So I'm Honduran, and someone from Honduras is Catracho or Catracha. So you're, hey, Catracha, what's up, Catracha, right? I never knew that you're not supposed to say that about other people if you're not from the culture or from the region.
I'm
I
not
mean,
making that up. I always assume,
okay.
like, if I were to say, "Oh, you're a Catracha," I'd have thought I don't know, I thought it was kinda rude.
No, you can say that. Like people say, "Hey, catracha." I mean, yeah, like I know if saying fresa, that's not good, right? Like in Mexico, like if you're fresa, that's not a. Is that? Yeah, I wouldn't compare
Yeah,
the
like,
both.
okay.
I wouldn't compare the two. Like,
No, I was gonna say I think it depends, right? Like,
yeah,
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 like if they're calling you niña fresa, at least in the US. Ay, es bien fresa. I mean, I'll own it, but it doesn't necessarily there's not I'm not saying it in the best way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Catracha is someone from Honduras, and I decide, and I like, we've always used this term growing up, like, hey, Catracha, Catracho, right? So that's like big part of Honduran culture is using Catracho and Punta, like Punta, the Afro, like tribal music from the African descendants in Honduras Guarifana culture, Guarifana, so they speak Guarifana in that punta is a big part of who we are too. Like I grew up dancing punta, dancing punta. So and
I love
so
cumbia.
yeah, so in terms of why I decided, so we actually shared the similar coach Leah, right, who was my coach, and during COVID I wanted to bring my movement to real life. I wanted to do something about my passion for movement. I wrote my MBA about I wrote my MBA about creating a cooperative for Latinos, like a fitness cooperative, and I still have that goal for Latinos, where we all have ownership of the facility of of fitness. And I decided this was the time to do it. And it was perfect timing because not perfect timing, but Honduras had been struck by two really horrible hurricanes in November. And at that point, I had my first fitness fundraiser, Punta para Honduras. And I was like, Catracha, Catracha, I'm going to launch this, Catracha Fitness, because I'm Honduran, and we're going to raise funds for Honduras. And actually, a big part of my business is, and I guess I wouldn't call it a business yet, but it is LLC, is to,
It's
there's a
a
big,
business.
yeah, it is a business. It's growing every year, like incrementally, but it is growing. Is social impact actually, and we got an MBA in social impact, and I'm always tying it to raising funds for different nonprofits or for different causes, like multiple times. So I think that's a big part of Catracha Fitness is like the social impact space, which what we got degrees in. So I think it all kind of ties in nicely, but that's why Catracha Fitness was born, was like a perfect moment. I had time and I was ready. You have to be ready for that moment to launch, right? You have to feel prepared. You have to feel confident. You're also going to have a lot of fear, but at least there inside of you, you're going to know like this is the moment. This is perfect. And it was great. We raised like $250. And at that point, one thing I'd like to mention is that Latin EDM it was kind of it was coming more popular. Now it's like huge, right? It's like tribal house, like everyone, all the white dudes are playing Latin house. It's like a thing, right? Back in 5 years ago, it was just starting, and I still loved it. And so that was still kind of cool at that moment to not pioneer it in the fitness, but it was in a way like I was bringing this music that was not so common 5 years ago. Now it's like huge, but it was just interesting to bring all of that together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, two things about that because I feel like so that's funny that you say that now is even like just popular, right?
Mhm.
Because I remember when you were talking to me about Catracha Fitness and you would tell me like, Edith, like imagine, cycling and you're listening to our music, whether it's like merengue, whether it's this, where is that. And I'm like, yeah, that's true because I listen to all types of music when I work out. But I do feel like even being raised, like me with Mexican roots in the US, I grew up in Long Beach, so it is very diverse. But at the same time, let's say once I walked in the workplace, it's not really like my culture is all over the building. Like that's
Mhm.
not really a thing. So to reimagine that, sometimes like, oh dang, um, I didn't know I needed this. It's like you walk into a
Right.
coffee shop, they're playing Latino music, and you're like, last time I was in one, they were playing like Chente Fernandez, and I was like,
Heck yeah.
oh, what? This is a whole nother vibe, and I'm
Yes.
loving it, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like you think you don't need it, and then it happens, and you're like, this is good. So I remember when you were explaining to me Catracha Fitness, and you're like, it
Mhm.
would just be everywhere. Like that's all you work out. That's the playlist, that's the this, that's the that. And now if I go through my IG feed, I see a bunch of
Oh
that
yeah.
everywhere. And I'm
Everywhere.
like, was I just missing out? And or was Joanna really like
I was
yeah, you were kind of ahead of it?
Yes. I don't want to be like, shooting my own horn, but girl, I was ahead of it, okay? And
Yeah, no, because I'm like now I see like
banda,
in either Mexico.
there's banda in the cycling room, which is great. They have a banda, like they're doing banda, like
Yeah,
norteña
I
banda
saw that.
in cycling. I was like, what? And, like, they actually had a a salsa band, like 2 weeks ago in Boston, like at a cycling suit. Like, I'm like, what? That's amazing. Like, great, but
Yeah, because I was like, I feel like every time I see those posts, sometimes I send them to you because I'm like, this is
yes,
it, right? Like, this is part of
yeah,
like not like the whole vision because I know you had other visions about Honduras
yeah,
and things like that, but yeah, and I remember even walking with my dad one time. We were in Long Beach and we usually go on
yeah.
walks, and he likes Fito Olivares, which
Hmm.
is like cumbias. Like if you hear
I
it,
love,
you'll be like,
yes,
oh yeah, this is like the cumbia. Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
hear these, So anyway, I was like walking with my dad and I was like, oh wow, like I don't think I've ever jogged or ran to like these cumbias, but it's almost, I don't know, it's almost like my music was very particular when I worked out, and
Right.
now it's just all over the place. I
Right.
mean, it's been like that for a while, but it's almost like I always needed a specific beat, and now it's just kind of like everywhere. But anyway, okay, so I did wonder that because I'm like, I see it everywhere now, and
It's
I don't think
huge.
I was seeing this before.
It's so big, and it's yeah. I would say I want to say I'm been ahead of the game, but I was definitely like, oh, and I wanted to bring like a DJ, and I did that like 2 years ago when I established Catracha Fitness LLC. I was like, time to bring my vision together. Like I'm gonna host my first event as Catracha Fitness, like a first official event with a drummer, like African drummer, amazing talent, and a DJ. And we brought it together, and it was mostly my friends and family. It was open, but it was an incredible, beautiful afternoon
I saw that.
outdoors, and I was like, "Damn, this was like so sick." And now it's like a thing, which is
Which we need
great.
more of it. So I always feel
Yeah.
like it. That's why I just know it's gonna keep getting bigger and bigger
Yes.
because you can tell you're really in your element when you're like in that space, you know? And that's the other question I was gonna ask you because I was reading on your website that, growing up in North Carolina, you were very used to the outdoors, like that was like a big part of it. And being in growing up in California, it's funny because when I moved to the East Coast, one thing that me and friends shared and like other people here that were also born in California or raised in California, it's like it's interesting the things you notice from the opposite coast. So people
Mm,
that come to the East Coast, it's like, wow, there's so many trees, you
yeah.
know? And then people that go to California is like, oh, there's so many palm trees. And people in California, like sometimes like they don't even realize how many palm trees we have in Southern California, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say like, so as I was reading part of your bio, I'm like, I could North Carolina is also a very green
Hmm.
state.
Hmm.
So you could have started anything when you were being coached by Leah, which shout out to Leah, because
Yeah.
after you, I got her too, and she's
She's
like
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah.
Um, what like why fitness though? Because you did talk about like movement was a big part of your journey. Like, so
Yeah.
can you talk more about that? Like
Yeah.
why fitness? Because you could have started anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, my movement has always been a big part of my life. Like you said, growing up in North Carolina, I had access. We grew up in a suburban neighborhood, in Wake Forest, North Carolina, and there was a lot of green space, very safe. So I was just able to run. I was going for runs at like as a 12-year-old. I would go for a run. I'm like going for a run, mom. Like it just, I don't know where I learned that, but I'm gonna go for a run. She's like, okay, mija. I mean, that was nice. That was, you could just go out for a walk or run, and that's how I started. But I also, I think we all, being growing up in the, in the neighborhood with all the kids, we just did a lot of movement, right? And like being outdoors. So I think for me, that it was more of an opportunity, and also everybody was doing it. You know what I mean? We weren't at home like on our computers. We were outdoors. Like that was just what it was like back in the day. You were playing around with your friends. Um, but I really wanted to get into cheerleading because I thought that was really cool, all the girls, and I decided that I was going to be a cheerleader at like the age 13 or 14, right? And so I had no experience, but I tried out for my high school cheerleading squad. I did not make it as a freshman, but it gave me good exposure to what they were going to be doing and their movements. And I decided I'm going to learn how to tumble because tumbling is a big, like gymnastics, a big part of cheerleading, like the back handsprings, all that stuff, and flexibility.
Mhm.
So I asked my mom, I said, Mom, I think as a young Latina or like child, you kind of define your own path. You're like, all right, I want to do this. Like your parents are telling you, usually it's like the parents are like telling you what to do. Like, you're gonna get into tennis. But I was like, I want to do cheerleading. Like, I like think that's interesting. So I told my mom, like, put me in a tumbling class, and my sister and I took private tumbling classes, me and her, like every week for like 2 months during the summertime. And I was gonna try out again, for my cheerleading. I don't think I actually tried out at that point, but my sister tried out for her cheerleading squad, and I also was training my sister in the backyard. I was like, we need to be flexible, do cartwheels. I was like training her at, I was like 14, she was like 9 or something, or like, she was gonna be middle school, like 12, and she actually got her cheerleading squad. I didn't at that point. Yes, I talk about this at the wedding speech. I was like, she's always the first. She's the first one to get married, the first one to get in the cheerleading squad. But and then so I'm a good
Oh, I
coach.
thought you said I did it, like, I put her because you were training
Oh,
her.
I did. Yeah, I
Yeah.
told she wanted to be like her big sister, so I told her like be cheerleading, do cheerleading. She wanted to do what I was going to do, and she actually didn't like it. Like 2 years later or 3 years later, I think she was a flyer, so you would like that's scary. Like you're putting yourself up in the air. And but I was part of a cheerleading squad in high school, a competitive cheerleading squad for 2 years. And then, I think I just movement, right? Like I was going for runs. Like that's just been part of my DNA. Like in college, a lot of running, ton of running. I was a big runner. And then straight training recently. I was never like an athlete. I wish I was like an athlete because I love athletic conditioning. It's a big part of Catracha Fitness is athletic conditioning and agility. Like I think that those movements are really powerful and cool. But anyways, so that's a little bit about why I love movement and why I decided like I could have done anything. Movement is just like I think the best gift you can give anyone in the world. If you can move your body, and that can give you 5 extra years, and you can be healthy with your loved ones till you're 100 years old. Like that's to me, it's the best gift in the world. Yeah,
Dude, that's awesome. No,
yeah,
yeah, I recently started getting more into strength conditioning, like strength training, because just learning how much like, how important it is to
yeah.
just start creating strong bones, especially, like, now
Woman.
in our 30s and stuff. So, it's yeah, it's crazy. So, you said you started running at, like, 12 and you would go for runs, and it's so interesting because I also, like so when I think of when I started working out, it was, like, my summer going to 8th grade. So that
Mm,
means I was, like, 13, maybe going on 14, and so when I was, like, 5th, 6th no, like, 4th, 5th, 6th, I was kinda, like, chunky, right? And I don't remember the exact conversation, so I don't wanna lie, but I do remember I wanted to be like my brother because I had a big brother,
mm,
He was, like, 4 years older than me. And I used to always wanna do all the things he did, but he never wanted me around. And, he was, like, doing skateboarding and doing
mm-hmm,
all these things, and he would be like, "Stay home, stay home." But one day he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna take you to boxing." Because he was boxing at the time.
mm-hmm.
He's like, "But you can't tell the coach that you only wanna box for fitness, like, and to work
Mm,
out. He has to believe that you wanna box. Because if you tell him you just wanna do it for the workouts, he's not gonna
right.
wanna be your coach." And I think I did it a little bit, and then I stopped. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it was for me, but we had a beach not too far, like Long Beach. So I grew up going to run to the
Oh
beach
wow.
since I was, like, 8th grade,
That's
and
amazing.
I would run to the beach, like, jog, I guess
Yeah.
I'm more like a jogger, but, yeah, so growing up, I just always had a place to go run to, which was, like, really, really awesome. So I do think, to your point, that access makes such a
Access.
big difference.
Totally.
I don't know how safe it was at the time, but I would usually go with my brother and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's crazy that now I'm 35. I'm like, wow, that's a long time.
That's amazing though. Like, and what drives us to do these things? Like, it's like might be a natural instinct, but like, my mom was working at the gym sometimes, and I would go with her, and then they were tanning beds, and I would go to tan bed. I was a suburban girl, like literally. We would go to the gym together, and I was like 12 years old. But anyways.
That's no, but it's true. And even when you were saying though, I do think some people have that upbringing of my parents told me like what they wanted me to be, or it
Yeah.
was like doctor or lawyer, and I had to choose. I was very similar to you, where I don't think my parents were really like telling me you got to do this, you got to do that. Like, so I kind of was just in some ways, there's a beauty to it because it doesn't feel like
Right.
you've got to choose this. So I think, yeah, it's just interesting. I think everyone's different. Going back to how you were saying about, you had access, you grew up in
Yeah.
Wake Forest, you said?
Yeah. Yep.
Wake Forest?
Yep.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about your upbringing in North Carolina. Like, do you know how your parents ended up in North Carolina? Because I always feel like, me growing up in Long Beach, it was like, okay, so many people from Mexico, where my parents are from, ended up in Southern California, and then some have moved, but most of us, I mean, it was just like there. And I don't want to say
Right.
just
Yeah.
there. It's not that simple, but it's there, So obviously we have large Latino populations
Mhm.
throughout the whole country and obviously even abroad, but yeah, do you know part of that story? How they ended up in North Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, I visited Honduras after 22 years of not visiting Honduras. Last time I was there, I was 12, and I went back in May with my husband and my mom, just us three, and it was amazing. We traveled everywhere, and I learned more about the village where she grew up, and that was an interesting perspective because I went when I was 12, but I didn't really know about the story or history. But supposedly like everyone in that village moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. Like I know everyone that moved, like everyone in that village. If you migrated to Raleigh, North Carolina, most likely, like 80%. I'm not even kidding. So I don't know why. I guess they all knew each other. Like, oh, come here, and that's how it
Yeah,
happened.
which it is how migration
Yeah,
usually works. Like if
yeah,
you know someone, then that's kind of how it
yeah,
begins.
yeah.
Okay.
So
So
I
someone
learned
was already there.
Yeah, so I learned that, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, because oh, see, well, Raleigh, and I was like, oh, everyone moved to Raleigh, and my mom and dad grew up not very far from each other, like a 5 minute walk, like literally in this village that still is. There's no concrete roads; it's still dirt roads. I think they're going to establish like a mayor kind of thing there, because it's becoming like a larger town. So
Mhm.
it's still like a very small village, like literally and so my mom moved to California when she was 17. She was very young, and my dad he migrated across the border. He was like 17 or 18, and they were talking over the phone. I think his aunt was living in California, was like, "Oh yeah, you should talk to my nephew or whatever." And they already knew each other, and they started having a relationship over the phone. And I mean, they knew each other. Like, well, I might as well move to North Carolina. My mom and she moved there, and I was born. So that's how they moved to North Carolina. But also, my uncle, who's amazing, had moved there first. Mi tío, no, yeah, they moved there first. Like a lot of people moved there first, and then my dad moved there, my mom moved there. So it was now my whole family on both sides live in Raleigh, North Carolina. The entire family. Like,
And what was your upbringing like in North Carolina? Like one of the things that I
mm,
always think of is like it wasn't until I left California that I realized like so after undergrad that's when I did Peace Corps, right?
yeah,
And I think in my group of like 30 something, I think it was like I was Mexican, we had
yeah,
like a Puerto Rican, and I think those were no, like I think a Colombian. Like a few
yeah,
of us that have like some sort of like roots, in Latin America. And I realized like, oh dang, like I really miss my people.
yeah,
And so what was your upbringing in like that diversity, right? That I
yeah.
had growing up that you don't really think about too much until you leave it. So what was your upbringing in like, yeah, in Raleigh, North Carolina?
Yeah,
Did
no,
you feel like you were around a lot of your community or how is the population over there, like the culture?
yeah, it's an interesting question because it's North Carolina, as as you're aware, it's like one of the fastest growing like states, and it's like becoming bigger, and there's more opportunities there. So I think it's just exploding. But in 1995, the population was 87,000, so less than 3% of that, like it was 3%, less than 3% Latinos, very small community. But I grew up in a very Latino community, like ages 1 to 5. Then I moved into like southwestern Raleigh, which is not the hood, but the hood. But then we moved out of that, and then we moved to the suburbs, and that's completely different. Like Wake Forest is a very nice, like upper middle class place, yeah. And we moved into a nice house, and it was nice. It was a nice neighborhood. It was a suburban neighborhood, and it was actually on a tobacco farm. It used to be a tobacco farm, and so I remember it was pretty diverse in terms of like African Americans and like white folks and then some Latinos, but it's very minimal Latinos. So like for me, it was my identity was like shaped by I'm the minority, and how can I fit in with the majority, right? Like I was different, so I like didn't speak Spanish in school. Like I didn't want people to know that I spoke Spanish because I was very minority. So how can I integrate and assimilate as much as possible to fit in? And I did fit in, but I do remember like some moments in middle school that it was pretty predominantly, like mixed too. Like it's very mixed in terms of black and white and a little bit Latinos at that point in Wake Forest. Now it's like I think a lot bigger. And
Mm,
I met my best friend there. She's Latina. So that was perfect. We clicked immediately. But when I got to high school, we were still pretty diverse, and I would say like it was I don't want to say affluent, but like black people were affluent, white people were affluent. It wasn't like there was a big like oh if you're white you're richer than the. It was very like mixed in terms of culturally and like economic backgrounds. Honestly, I wouldn't say like there was a big like oh like 30% of the people were low income. It was pretty mixed in terms of racial and like income
I
distribution.
can like,
Yeah.
mm,
And so that was, I guess, a good thing in a way because we all kind of hung out, right? And but the Latino population was still very small. In my 600 class in 2009, I think there's probably like not more than 20 Latinos, honestly, very small.
mm,
But we came together and I decided to embrace my culture, embrace my identity at that moment, and I think a big part of it was this nonprofit that came to my high school to create the first Latino student organization called it's equitable. They do amazing work within the communities for youth, amazing. And they came they're like you guys should start a Latino club, and we did it. We called it Latinos for LCBF, Latinos for a better future. Latino club. Yeah, it was so cute. We would go to the elementary school and like teach the ESL students and like tutor them. But we were so close and tight knit, and that was my community. But I also hung out with like the white cheerleaders, and I also hung out with like I just hung out. I had different groups. I was in the newspaper club. I was like, so I just had different communities. But my community, like my homies were definitely like the Latinos. It was like 10 of us. We would hang out together. We go prom together. Like it was very. But that was my experience growing up. And then going to college, I at NC State, big university, 40,000 students. Latinos supported Latinos. I went to campus, 'cause I tour with the Latino club showing me around. Like it was like I became part of the Latino community there, and I've never turned back. It's just been Latinos. Like all my friends Latinos. I should probably have more friends, but it's just always Latinos. I can't help it. Like you just find your people and you're like, let's hang out. You know what I mean?
no, so, because I worked in the education space for some time,
Yeah.
we used to have this reflection. It probably still there, but there is this reflection exercise that we would do where you would write who are your closest, like your closest five friends in elementary school, in middle school, in high school, in college, and now. And what was crazy is that, I always feel like, oh, I love cultures and I love people from different backgrounds and like different cultures and this, and that. And like, I literally looked at my list and maybe once I got to grad school, it started changing a little bit.
Yeah.
But really, it was, yeah, all people with like Latino roots,
Yeah.
with like kind of roots in Latin America. And I was kind of like, I mean, obviously there is a big element of where I was raised, the schools I went
Yeah.
to. But even at Brandeis,
Right.
where there wasn't
You
like,
found each
I
other.
mean, not like, yeah, percentage wise, there wasn't that many of
No.
us. I still kind of stayed, like people of Latino culture. So it was really interesting where I was like, oh dang. I do feel like it made me reflect because this was all about reflection and
Mhm.
like it did make me think like how much intention do I also want to put in creating, yeah, like I guess not always like necessarily. I think sometimes it happens organically.
Right.
Like I'm not your friend because you're Latina. I'm your friend because there's so many aspects of you that I love,
Mhm.
and you are Latina,
Right.
which makes this connection. So it's not like I'll be friends with any Latino, but it is interesting how that plays out. So I would say here in Atlanta, it's a little bit different now because I do feel like it feels
Mhm.
more of like the people that I'm around, they're from all different types of backgrounds
Yeah.
and culture. So it is different where I think maybe, growing up in Cali, it was very specific. And then even at Brandeis, it was almost like a little bit of a culture shock.
Yeah.
Um, oh, where are my people at? Like I
Yeah.
need to find my people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how that happens and it continues to happen. I think even now more than ever, there's a huge shift to like Latinidad. Like some it came out of nowhere. I feel like Latina fitness, Latina this, like Latina is like a thing. It's like an icon. It's like a thing. It's iconic to be Latina. Like I think it's just this huge explosion. Now they're the TikTok videos. Have you seen those of the white dude singing Bad Bunny because they want to get ready for halftime show? for the for have you seen those? And they're like
I saw the one that was like, you got 4 months
yeah, to like yeah, that one. And I'm like
to learn and
to
like,
show off to the Latinas. And I'm like, this is like it's becoming a thing. And I think there's a push right now. There's like this suppression that is happening of our culture of who we are. But it's too late. Latinos are gonna be the majority by majority minority by 2030. We're going to be the most like multicultural racial place in the world. And so it's already too late to suppress our identity, to suppress our communities. It's like the it's done. Like we're here, and like the cultures I think are going to be embraced even more by us.
yeah.
And also Latinos actually picked up. There's this big push. Like whereas we might have suppressed it when we were in 1995, 2000, now like people are totally embracing it. Like, like I'm Latina, like I'm Latino, like the Gen Zs and like the millennials are really like, heck yeah, this is who I am, unapologetically Latina or Latino or whatever, and we're here to stay. Like that's how I see the new age people. Yeah.
No, I agree because
Yeah.
I was thinking about this and I was
Yeah.
reflecting on it, and I was thinking about it in the sense of like, you know, I always I often share how like it wasn't really until my 20s that I felt like I started really embracing like my culture, my
Mhm.
identity, my story. And it's an ongoing journey, but I feel like that's where like that was moments that were pivotal. And I
Yeah.
think it were and I think back to Peace Corps
Mm.
because I think I was living in, Burkina Faso, and I just loved the culture and I thought it was beautiful. And it reminded me so much of Mexico that I was like, dude, like this is so like seeing that beauty allowed me to see it in my own right.
Mhm.
It wasn't like I wasn't proud. Like, I mean, we were proud at the house. We were
Mhm.
proud
Mhm.
like in our families, in our parties and wherever. It's more of like, let's say once you go into a space that is
Mhm.
now predominantly white, then you start hiding
Mhm.
several parts
Right.
for whatever reason. And now it's like, no, I wouldn't do that.
Right.
Like if I'm at work and I'm the only Latina or person of Mexican roots in my team, then it is what it is. I'm not trying to like I'll still like when I would lead team meetings, sometimes I'm playing Celia Cruz, sometimes
Yeah.
I'm playing like Natalia Lafocarde, you know what I mean? Or if my I have moments where let's say everybody was talking about a song that I didn't know. I would feel like, oh, man, like I don't know that band, you know?
Yeah.
But then it got to a point where it's like, I don't know that band, and one, I'm okay with it. I'm not gonna try to pretend like I know it, you
Yeah.
know? And also while you were listening to that band, I was listening to something else.
Right.
So I think those are like the little pivots. But back to your point about this new, like the newer generation. So from one part, I remember like hosting Dia de los Muertos thing with my family,
Mhm.
right? And we were sharing stories. And my dad said, I love that your generation, like our generation, is really
Mhm.
really embracing, really going back to roots, really trying to learn more because our generation, it's almost like we had to,
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it was
Yeah.
really like, yeah, there was way more, I think, assimilation in a way, even though there was a lot of resistance, I would say, as we look at history.
Right.
But then to your point, when we look, our generation looks at the newer. And I feel like part of it too is because of, this is like the pros of social media
Right.
that you it just explodes like
It's
the
huge.
knowledge.
Right.
Yes, it can explode like ignorance, but also like some of it is true. Like when you start seeing all this beauty in
Yeah.
Mexico, Latino-America, Honduras, Guatemala, like all these places, you start exposing the music. I just think like that has a positive thing too with the kids, right?
Oh my
Because you're
God,
like,
100%.
oh, there's another Latino over here too, and I love it, and I dig this
Yeah.
music and whatever it is. So I do feel like, to your point, it's happening a lot sooner
Yeah.
than for our
That's
generation,
interesting you say that.
and a lot of people don't like it, but it is like we're. I want to pause for a moment. I hope you're enjoying the episode as much as I have been enjoying this conversation. Many of you may have heard me talk about my first children's book, Two Homes, Dos Casas, and Dos Casas. And you can purchase it at edithsuarez.com/books. I wanted to write something that would speak to children. And my goal and my vision is the stories that are going to happen between families when you finish reading the book, to be able to tell part of your story, parents to kids, and vice versa. So, this book is available as a bilingual version, so primarily English with sprinkles of Spanish throughout. And then this one is fully in Spanish, and they're both available on my website at edithsuarez.com. I mean, if you look at the history of this country, you tried to erase Native American. You
Right.
tried to erase like the Mexicans that were already in this land.
Yeah.
You try to erase Black people. Like it just, you know, you won't do it.
No.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of violence. Like that's the sad
Yeah.
that their power plays a role, but we're not gonna go anywhere, girl.
No, no, and we're not going anywhere, and that's why we need to look at the Latino population in a very complex way, and I think that's why a big part why the Democrats lost because they put everyone in a box, and it's like we're no longer like we're no longer like struggling, like people care about other things, right? So like I think it's this very complex group of people, and how do we like serve this group of people like that is very complex, right? How do we actually listen to what we want, like what they want, right?
Yeah.
And that,
I think
yeah,
that's another thing
yeah.
too. Like I was just listening to I want to say her name or video that my brother sent me
Mhm.
because the woman was talking about not even like really not even taking the box of Latina, right? Because
Mhm.
it didn't align with her. Like was born and raised in a region
Mhm.
a small place, not I don't want to say small, like with a group of people in Oaxaca.
Mhm.
So she named like her tribe's name.
Wow.
And so coming and then just kind of adopting this Latina, like it didn't, she
Mm.
kind of just goes in depth, right? Like
Mm.
at the end of the day, she won't even call herself Mexican. Yes, she was born in the state of
Wow.
like what is now like the country, the Republic of now Mexico, but just I think a lot of that is happening with even our generation.
Yeah.
Just like yeah, like I will define myself sometimes depending on the group that I'm in. Like,
Right.
you know, sometimes I go deep, sometimes I don't. It just really depends. Like I'm on that journey, but sometimes yeah, one label of just Latina doesn't doesn't is not enough for all of us because
No.
we're so complex. Like our stories and our histories are so nuanced. They're not black and white, you
They're
know?
not black and white.
Um, I mean, even you just growing up
Yeah.
Honduran versus me with like parents
It's
from
crazy.
Mexico, like I'm sure there's overlap, but
Yeah.
there's so many differences in a lot of things. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that's a good point, and I'm definitely gonna be practicing my Bad Bunny songs. Tell you
Oh
that
yeah,
much.
heck yeah, yeah, and that's yeah. I think yeah, it's interesting. Like we're here to stay. It's we're growing. It's a population's growing. Every 30 seconds, a Latino turns 18 years old. Like so, how do we create a future with Latinos, right? Like the future is Latino. So how do we create a future with Latinos in it? And I think there's this crash that's happening. There's it's all these horrible things, but I think we might see actually a better future ahead of us. To be honest with you, I actually have hope especially with the younger people. Like I'm happy about what they're doing, what they're embracing. Like I actually even fitness. Like I met so many Latino fitness people who are bringing their culture into it. For example, there's this guy called his name is Arnold. Arnold, he's a Guarifana from Honduras. He's actually was born in Bronx because there's a big Guarifana community in the Bronx, and he has punta dancing classes with live seashells and a live drummer. And I've gone like so many times, but it's amazing. And the culture is just like such an unbelievable experience. But he's our age. He's early 30s. I'm like mid 30s now. But he
We're officially
I
mid-30,
know
huh?
it's so
35.
crazy. I know, but
Well, you just turned 35, so you're
yeah, I
still
know, I know. But we Latinas, we've been looking good forever. But he's amazing, and I just love that he's bringing his culture, to fitness, to movement, and like really embracing it. Whereas, so it's an interesting time where we're bringing our culture to all the spaces. Yeah.
yeah, and the thing about it is like even with the Bad Bunny thing, how we were saying how people were like, you know, you have different reactions. I'm like, I love something he said is like music is music. Like when it's good music,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be
Right.
translated. And I even think of that when I was in Peace Corps, I was introduced to Afro beats.
Oh, nice.
I then it became this big old thing once I moved here.
Right.
But it was like right at kind of how you were
Yeah.
explaining earlier, right? When I was living in Boston, in Dorchester, I was introduced to dembow.
Yeah.
I had heard dembow, but I didn't really know that was dembow,
Yeah.
right? And then it was like, and I feel like that's the beauty of cultures. You
Right.
really get introduced to so many dope things that you're like, dang, this is amazing. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want this as part of my life. So I feel like it really can only make us stronger. Unfortunately, there is a lot of ignorance about who we are, what we stand for.
Yeah.
Like there's no one thing, like you said. It's yeah, it's more than just black and white or more than just a box, which I think that's part of why this conversation is important. Okay,
Right.
I'm looking at my notes. I
Yeah.
want to make sure I I asked you some of the things I wanted to ask you. But
Okay.
okay, so the other thing I wanted to ask you is what is one thing, and I feel like you touched on this a little bit, but what
Mhm.
is one thing that you are like embracing about your cultura, and then what is one thing that you're letting go of?
That's a really good That's a really good question. Yes. I've thought about this a bit, and it's hard to explain it in like one sentence or like one word. But lately I've been thinking a lot about the power of the woman in my life and the intergenerational trauma that they experience. Like when I went to Honduras, I learned so much about what my grandmother had to go through as a 12-year-old and her great grandmother, all the stuff that happened to them as women, as females. And femicide is still a thing in Honduras, right? Like being a woman like is not is a very dangerous thing. And so I was just thinking about the power that I have of what they've experienced, what we all experience, that resilience. Like that is like some ancestral like power that I have that I want to keep. That I'm like, damn, like that. And I don't regret being part of I don't like I was born in this family. I was born part of Honduras, but that has given me so much strength, like knowing where they came from and where they ended up. Like my mom said to me, I didn't want to be a pregnant 13-year-old in the village, so she left. She decided I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go out of seven. Yo me voy.
Mm.
Yo me voy. And that's what she did. And I was like, I don't want to be a pregnant 72-year-old. So I got an education. And like, I was paranoid about being pregnant. Actually, it was interesting because I think one of your other questions was, like, I have like this, a part of me was, I didn't want to be like the church people who got like the girls got pregnant, right? And there was this huge stereotype of Latinas being pregnant. Like, huh. Now we can talk about that in a second because that's not true. And then on the other
Yeah,
part,
that was like in high school. Literally
yeah.
teacher told me that I was gonna be 25 with five
Are you
kids.
serious? That's horrible. So I was like, I'm not trying to do. So I think like in a way, like all the strength, like I am who I am today because of my mom, because of my grandmother, because of her great grandmother, all the things they went through, the sacrifice they had to make. That's one thing I want to keep is their ancestral power and just the resilience. Like, damn, like it gives you chills thinking about everything they gone through. And like I was telling you the other day, like I think yesterday, whenever I have a bad day, I'm like on my computer, I'm like, oh my God, I'm having such a bad day. And I'm thinking about my grandma crossing the border 3 times, almost died once. And I'm like, girl, you got this. Days are hard, but like it's okay. Like we live in the United States, which things are not great right now, obviously, but like I need to understand my place and like, like kind of know where I'm at and I'm okay. Like, but and then that's one thing I'm gonna want to keep is my ancestral power, that like honoring that strength. Yeah.
And then the let go part.
Well, I think one thing, and I think there's two parts of it. Is, I want to say humility and also shame. So I think there's a lot of shame in our cultura, right? And I want to talk about my fertility journey because we talked about this, and I'm going to be open. It's my first time being open about my fertility journey publicly. So I've been trying to conceive for 2 years with my husband, and it's been challenging. We've gone through a lot. We've gone through IUI, and in turn uterine insemination. Now we're going to do IVF. But when I share this with my mom and I tell her I'm gonna share this with my aunt, she's like, no, mija, no, no, don't, no le digas nada sobre este proceso. No tiene que saber nada de esto. And I was like, why is there so much shame in this infertility? I actually shared my story with my aunt, my dad's aunt, and she shared with me that her sister, my aunt, my other aunt, also had trouble conceiving. Like it was a year or two, and she went to the doctor, and because she wasn't feeling good, the doctor told her she was pregnant. She was like, yeah, like, oh, gracias a Dios, like, oh, like, cause she thought she couldn't get pregnant, like, So it's just, I think the shame part is something I want to let go, like being shamed of like where I came from, being shamed of, like if I'm not acting good enough, being shameful of like whatever my roots and in this process, this journey. I have no shame. I'm so proud of where I'm at today. Like, baby or no baby, like that's my journey, and I think it's great. Like it's hard, but like, I don't have shame in it. There's no shame. Nothing to be shameful of. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
sharing
of
that,
course.
Joanna, because I do feel like it's you hear so much like well, maybe because I'm also in this season of my life, but I feel like IVF is something you hear about,
Yeah.
like you hear the word, you hear maybe people go through it or not, but like no one really truly understands it unless you went through it. And
Yes.
I also feel like a lot of people don't, to your point, like there is this, I think sometimes there is this big part of, I don't know if it's, like, I don't want to say only Latino culture, but there
Yeah.
is this part of women in kids,
Mhm.
right? Obviously being such a big part. And it's almost like that question of like, ¿cuándo vas a tener
You're right.
hijos? Oh, ya te vas a casar? Oh, ¿cuándo vas
Mhm.
a tener hijos?
Mhm.
Y no vas a tener hijos? It's like, it's it's such a like a pressure sometimes.
Yeah.
And I know from my own experience, it's almost like I stopped asking that question because even it's almost like a thing you ask
Right.
without thinking, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like someone might not want to have
Right.
kids. Someone might be in the process of trying to have kids. Someone might have learned, quote unquote, they can't have
Right.
kids of, like
Yeah.
conceive them in like
Yeah.
on their own and stuff. And to your point, like your tia, like
Mhm.
maybe it works out. Like
Yeah.
doctors won't have all the answers, but it is like, I think, a lot of people are going through it, but I don't think it's necessarily talked about
No.
for different reasons. I can't speak
Mhm.
on it, but I think the fact that you're even sharing that, like, I know there's other women going through
Yeah.
it. And I do think it is, sometimes depending on our parents, it could be something like a pressure because it's almost like they wanna have the
Right.
grandkids.
I mean, it's
You get me?
selfish. Very
It's like they're
selfish.
putting their own
Yeah.
their own, like, beliefs, and it's like, "No, no digas eso." Like, she's imposing kinda her thinking on you, and you're like, "No, I'm actually feel comfortable talking to my tia about this."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's just, yeah, like I feel like shame prevents us from sharing our story, like our story and like sharing stories. Because if you're shameful, you're not going to share your story with people. You're going to keep it to your own. And I think that's happening a lot. But the good news is that being in Boston, which there's a lot of Latinos here. I've met a lot of Latina professional folks, and they've shared their journey openly with me. They're like, oh yeah, I had a baby at 43. Like Latina professionals that I met, lots of Latina who had kids later in life, not through IVF, but they had it at 40, 43. So it's like, it's one of those things where I think, and I share my story with them because that inspires me. Okay, like that happened, or thank you for sharing your story. But I think there's a lot of power in that. But I still even think I just still don't see that happening with even our generation, millennials. Like I don't know if it's talked about very much, even with the millennials. And you know what I mean. Like I don't share my story on Instagram, like because I feel like I'm gonna jinx this. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to share my story, but maybe I should share my story so someone else can be like inspired or feel like it's okay, to share your story and to be where you're at.
Yeah. No, I think that that can be like a push and pull too,
Yeah.
right? I feel like sometimes with social media, it's almost like, yeah, like, how much do you share and be vulnerable?
Right.
Also, how much do you, like, also like, it's your decision. Like, you can do
Right.
that, but you also don't have to. I
Right.
think sometimes because the easiness of access to social media and to sharing,
Yeah.
sometimes it's almost like, do you have to? No. Can you? Yes, and that's something for you to decide on your own because maybe you share it with the community,
Right.
like you said, or maybe you go into detail with in a space where you're like, "I'm ready to do this and I want to,"
Right.
versus, "I feel like I need to." I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for that, but I feel like I even go back and forth with that too, like because 'cause we've talked about this with
Yeah.
social media, right? Like, how if someone looks at our Instagram, everything feels amazing. Like,
Right.
it's like, wow, like her life is
Yeah.
great, which
Yeah.
it is.
It is great.
And
I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, like it is great. And it doesn't mean that that's all of it.
Right.
Everybody has the right to post what they want. Like for me, I'm not gonna post. Sometimes I cry. Like there are days with Amina that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is hard. But to
Yeah.
your point about your grandma earlier, you know how you were saying you think of your grandma like,
Yeah.
man, she cried before her 3 times.
Yeah.
Like I do feel like there is this part where I'm not the person to like post myself crying because that's just not what I want to post.
Right.
Like don't think that I don't cry because like I'm a very emotional person,
Yeah.
but that's not what I want to post.
Right.
So in a way, this is not necessarily all bad that you don't want to post you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
I think it's like keeping it real.
right. And you can create whatever you want to create on. So how do we make sure we follow the people that inspire us, that we know are real? How do we, let go of the superficialness of all of that's happening right now with AI and everything that can make anything seem amazing? But yeah, maybe I'm ready to share my story because this inspired me. This Cultura Convo inspired me, right? Maybe it's time, you
I
know?
mean, a lot. Yeah. No, I appreciate you. Okay, so thank you. I do really appreciate that. And I will say one thing to that point of like you said something like following people that inspire us. It's like what's the name of that organization that you introduced me to when we were in Boston, the Latina one?
Oh, is it not conexión?
The one with Betty.
Oh yeah, oh my God, that's the Latina Sociedad or something, like I forgot what it was called, but now they changed to Amplify X. Actually, it's a whole.
Oh, Amplify,
Yeah.
Amplify, yeah. Amplify. One of the like weekend workshops or like
Yeah.
conferences that we went to. I remember something that I don't know if it was Betty or somebody else in the audience said, which was like, yes, you have the people you aspire to be
Mhm.
more like, right? Like I don't know, it could be someone that you've never met,
Yeah.
you know? And that's great. And at the same time, like find those people in your local communities,
Right.
like people because there's a lot of people that can inspire us in our circles
100%.
and that you actually have more direct access to. And I think to your point, I think that's such a great like reminder because then if you do have more access, like this is someone that inspires me, like you inspire
Yeah.
me. And we also hop on the phone here and there. So I know all aspects, not all aspects, but multiple aspects of your life,
Right.
of your journey versus simply what I
Such a
see
good
you
point.
posted. So
Such a good
I
point.
always thought about what they said. I hadn't thought about it in the context of social media, which right now it like relates, but I do
Yeah.
remember that like find the local people you
I
aspire
love
to. It
that.
doesn't have to be the people you'll one day meet or never meet, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so as we wrap up, I want to ask you another question because I think it goes back to what you were saying, how you started embracing your cultura.
Mhm.
Part of it was like this uh, this group of Latinos that were a
Mhm.
big part in your high school
Mhm.
journey that kind of helped y'all gain a club or start a club. Like, I do feel like you are in a I don't know if this is Joanna all the
Yeah.
time or like, because you know, again, we all have our insecurities, we all have things we overthink, but I do feel like I see you as that person that just you don't really I don't want to say you don't care, but you're just yourself, dude. Like you just do things that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so Joanna. And like whether it's like you posting yourself, uh you know, doing your fitness,
Mhm.
doing your dancing, doing your whatever you're doing, like you just do it for a time you were going live all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, as a person that be overthinking even the lives, I'm like, yo, shout out to Joanna. Is that like how much of that is like that's like if you think of yourself as a kid, like were you kind of always like that or you have learned that or you talk yourself out of that? I want to know like your thought process.
That's interesting. Yeah, I love that you're asking me this. Because there's so many videos on my phone that I'm not posting. Like I like create videos and I'm like, I'm not posting that. Like no way, like I look stupid. Like I'm not posting that. But I try to post, but it's like and I'm learning like nothing can be perfect, so try to do your best, but like just post it and see what because it's a machine. Social media is a machine. You're gonna keep feeding it no matter what. Like it's just it doesn't sometimes it's gonna work. Whatever, it's a machine. It constantly needs to be fed. So you're gonna feed it whatever it needs. Like not like in a bad way. You just can't look too much on like, oh, did I look stupid? Because you don't got time. You gotta post the next thing. Like it's just nonstop. It's just it moves fast in the speed of light. So it's like how that's how it is. So I'm like kind of no longer like thinking, oh, do I look stupid? But I mean, back to your question, like where did this come from? I was a very shy kid. I was a good kid. I was like a good niña, like growing up, and I think I started to blossom really in high school, and I think honestly it has to be from like mentors and from leaders, like Latino leaders who came to my high school and and activated the activism in me, because at that point we were also doing activism work, understanding what oppression is and what our communities are going through and how can we support our other people. And I think in a way like you have to put yourself out there. Like we were doing things in my high school like together as a community, but I think in a way you have to put yourself out there, right? I think I put myself in a lot of vulnerable places. Like I don't know where it came from. Like trying it for cheerleading with no cheerleading experience. I was like, I'm gonna try out, and I tried for my basketball middle school team. Like I didn't make it obviously, but like it was a good experience. So I keep putting myself in these situations where I'm gonna fail, but I'm like, whatever. I'll give an example. I tried out for do you have you ever heard of a Brady boot camp, a Barry's boot camp? It's
No.
the first ever it was established in 1999 around that time, fitness boutique studio, like first ever fitness boutique, right? Like it started in LA, it's blown up, and they're like the first ones to create that fitness boutique experience. But I tried out for a thing there, and it was like very it's 3 minutes long, and I had to practice my fitness instructor, like fitness corporate voice, the fitness industrial fitness complex voice. Okay, there's a certain way.
Wait, so you tried out for a role
No,
there?
I tried out for yeah, like a fitness instructor role, and it's
Oh, a
super
fitness
it's super
instructor. Okay.
competitive. There was like a Celtics cheerleader who tried out with me. I was like, oh Jesus, like okay, great. She was really nice and
Okay.
awesome. She was so sweet, but I definitely think she got the job. And it was a lot of people, but I had to put myself in this very vulnerable place. I could have practiced more. I honestly got a B plus, but that's what I do. I don't go all the way. I just like go for it. I'm like, what? I'm just gonna go for it. But I practice, and it's so funny. I'll do it for you because it's just hilarious. So I had to practice this corporate, like I have my community fitness voice, like, hey guys, welcome to Catracha Fitness. And then I have my Barry's Bootcamp voice or my corporate. You ready? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Barry's Bootcamp in downtown Boston. My name is Joanna Banegas. We're going to be doing a 3-minute fitness series today. All right, we're going to start with a step back lunge. Make sure you keep that core engaged team. Let's get it. Like, that's my.
Wait. Okay.
That's how.
So that's
That's like fitness
that's
boutique instructor. If you ever go to this fitness boutique, they always.
no, yeah,
Yeah,
I went to one of those. I
yeah.
don't think that's the one, but I will say, first of all, I think that sounds great for what I heard because oh my god, my friend took me to this place. I don't know if it's considered boutique, because it wasn't small, but it's this place in Long
Yeah,
Beach, and it was like she took me to one of those like HIIT circuit
right.
classes. And it's interesting now that you do that voice because I do feel like the girl was talking like
Yeah,
that.
it's very
Yeah,
it's
okay,
similar. It's
okay.
similar, but I had to
So
like simulate because I can't be like, "Hey guys, Catracha
yeah, I was
Fitness."
gonna say I want to hear your like authentic, like this is Joanna one more time.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you.
Hey guys, welcome to Catracha Fitness. I'm Joanna Banegas, your fitness instructor for today. We're gonna have so much fun. Today's music choice is cumbia. Like that's like more me, like my
Yeah,
authentic voice. But it's like, welcome to Barry's Bootcamp. It's like very robotic and like, I mean, there's actually like funny memes on Instagram about this because it's very true. But anyway, so that I was vulnerable in that spot, but I still did it. Like, so I just put myself in these situations where I might fail, but at least I'm trying, right? At least I'm trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the goal.
No, I love that. I love that. And I think, even you saying that, going back to like to think sometimes we have these memories, right? That's kids that's like, wait, like what even inspired me to like try out for cheerleading and I had not seen anybody, right? Like there are these things like memories that we have through our life, but if if you have there is a part of you that has done that
Yeah.
consistently or like throughout your life, I do feel like it makes it easier and I don't want to say easier and easier, but it probably makes the decision easier to put yourself in these uncomfortable situations,
Yeah.
or to even just do it. It's kind of like, you know what you want, you know the vision.
Yeah.
So fuck it, I'm gonna do it,
I mean, it's interesting that you're talking about this because you were actually the first person who gave me an opportunity to teach a fitness class. Do you remember that? Like it was with your
I what?
friends. Yeah, like yeah, this is the thing about the memory. Like I don't remember that. Yeah, it was during the pandemic, and you were having these like you're as a community organizer, that's bringing people together, right? Like you have an idea, let's do the meditation. To yes, yeah, girl, I did the I feel like you're my. I
Hey,
feel like I
keep
go to
talking,
church
keep
with you. I'm
talking.
like going to church, have this meditation. I'm not sure when, but it was these. We are doing these like monthly meetings with your friends from California, and at one point, I was like, I want to teach like a fitness thing. Like, I want to do a fitness thing. And that was my first time ever like leading a fitness class with your friends. We did like
Oh,
a
yeah,
virtual,
yeah. I
like,
went like Mujeres. I started Mujeres Circle during the pandemic.
yeah, exactly. And
And I was like, yeah. And I was doing like once a month. And then we said, this is where I always sometimes feel like, yeah, like I didn't want to lead every single one because I felt
yeah,
like I wanted to share leadership. So I think we each rotated.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. And that's
dang.
what,
I feel like Catracha Fitness has like blown up.
yeah. Well, I guess in a way it has, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because I'm like, oh wow, it hasn't been that
it's been
long. I
five
mean,
years.
yeah, it was 5 years, but I feel like wow, your consistency is
No, I
showing for
mean,
sure.
there
That's
was a year
great.
where I didn't do it at all, but then I was like this, I think 2025, I was like, I'm gonna just do it. I'm just gonna like create events and just see what happens. And like, I actually now seeing the growth.
Okay, so that was so you were gonna say that's when you first did
Yeah,
it.
like first ever taught a fitness class to anyone, and I felt so awkward. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what the freak I'm doing. It was awful, but it was a good opportunity. So you're creating these spaces for me to, for people to like talk about things or to, expose themselves to different things. But that was very, I would had to be very vulnerable for that. Yeah, but your friend was so nice. She was like, okay, like,
Oh,
yeah,
so we did it online.
it was a virtual one. Yeah,
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 because we had my friends that yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you for
yeah, of
reminding me
course,
that.
yeah.
That's awesome. And I do feel like I'm trying to tap more into that
Mm,
strength of mine. Like I am a person who loves to connect people, who loves
mm-hmm,
to create spaces, who loves this type of conversation and, you know, even if it's between two of us or more of us. So yeah, I am very grateful for you. I feel like yeah, like grad school was I feel like grad school became so much better after I met you because
oh,
my first year I was like working.
mm-hmm,
I didn't really have a lot of a community, right? Because I was a dual master, so I didn't really have one cohort.
mm-hmm.
And then once I met you and you were like, Edith, let's start this graduate Latino group, I was like, I feel like I have a lot of leadership qualities, but sometimes it's more of like you tell me something and then I run with it.
Mhm,
But sometimes I don't think of it, you
mhm,
know? So when you came to me for that, I was like, "Ooh, let's do it." And we ran with it and it was amazing. But after that, I feel like my second year was so different in
mm.
grad school because it
We
was
had a lot
like
of fun.
I also wasn't working as much anymore.
Yeah,
I was working on campus. So that played a big role. But we met some great people.
amazing.
We connected with professors, with staff. So thank you for your leadership,
Oh my
girl.
God, no, thank you for your leadership. I
Or
think it's,
mujer
yeah,
now.
I think it's really about empowering each other. Instead of taking and taking, we empower each other. Like there's an abundance of opportunities that we want to share with the world. There's no like scarcity of that. So how can as Latinos like support and empower each other? And I think that scarcity mindset played a role in like the last presidential election for some reason. And it's like how can we create more spaces and more opportunities to uplift each other? And I think that's our philosophy together, honestly. Like our values match in that way. Like we want to empower each other, we want to support each other, uplift each other. Yeah.
Yeah, like and continue
Right.
learning, like learning from each other, learning about our culture,
Right.
learning like there's always so much to continue learning about ourselves, our own stories, other people's stories. So
100%.
so yeah, thank you, Joanna. This was great. The final thing I want to ask you is if there anything that I didn't ask that you wanna share?
Oh wow, that's a great question. Well, I guess I have to share something about like a part of Catracha Fitness and I just the different things that came together for me in that moment that I created Catracha Fitness. So I love and I will bring this back to the industrial fitness complex because the industrial fitness complex is basically like capitalism and it's going to make you think you're never going to be enough, you're never going to be strong enough, you're not going to be skinny enough, and it's just constantly feeding you all these things. You need to have these clothes to make you look pretty to go to the gym, like stuff like that. And Catracha Fitness, I really believe that I brought in my three passions: movement, community, and electronic dance music. And electronic dance music has a history of oppression. Like it started from oppressed black people in Detroit and Chicago and queer folks as well. And they weren't allowed to go, play this music anywhere else. It literally started off in these communities. And in a way, like I'm bringing that type of like history, and because I specialize in Latin electronic dance music, Latin DJs, and want to bring that kind of story and history here. And I'm trying to deliver fitness and movement to different communities that have been oppressed, right? Making accessible to different communities. So that's a big part of why I started Catracha Fitness, was to really bring like awareness to this music, choice, but also that a lot of spaces aren't created for like a lot of people, for the elderly, for example. For some reason, I have that senoras in their 70s and 60s go to my workout and they're crushing it, but I don't think they're going to the boutique studio. Like it's probably too expensive, and it's like you kind of feel like, oh, this is not for me. So in a way, I feel like I'm trying to reclaim the power and the strength of our communities together through EDM, which has a history of oppression, history of like, and then also movement that has a history of oppression, you know. So, anyways, just want to kind of share that with you and the world.
No, I love that. Thank you for sharing that because I do feel like, again, going back to how much there's so much to learn
Right.
about our history, about where things come from. And I didn't know that history of EDM until you told me. I didn't know like the history of house too,
Yes.
like going
So
back
cool.
to, in college, I would go to Vegas, right? And we would go to clubs. And for me, that's what I knew about house. And now that I moved to Atlanta, it's like, wow, there's a whole history of house music that I was not aware of because I just always
Right.
associated it to clubs in Vegas.
Right.
And usually probably like a white
White
DJ,
European
and
male.
now it's like, no, it has a whole black kind of history
Yeah.
to it and very spiritual
So
if you just tap
spiritual.
into it,
So
which
spiritual.
that's still on my list. I haven't, I need to hit up my friend, so you just reminded me that. But yeah, thank you for always I do feel like you've been intentional in when I hear you talk about EDM and the music, like naming that,
Yes.
like where it started with the Black community. So it's not the first time I hear you, and I feel like you definitely educated me. So
Awesome.
thank
Of
you for that.
course.
And yes, you're right. I feel like I gotta look cute when I go to the gym.
I know the fitness outfits, but it makes you want to like buy all these cute fitness outfits. But I mean, it is nice, but I feel like it's becoming like click culty and like,
Yeah, like I wear fitness when I don't even go to the gym, girl.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
There's nothing
Like,
wrong with that. It's just we gotta make sure like what's the goal is to move. Is the goal is to have a healthier life long term, not to be skinny, not to like that's not the goal. The goal is to have like for a
yeah, like
family,
diet people.
like that's the goal. But they're not gonna tell you, the industrial fitness club is not gonna tell you that. They're gonna say, you know,
Yeah. No, I agree. It's almost like what you said, not enough, not strong enough, but it really goes back to defining your why. Like,
right,
why am I working out? Why do I want to,
yeah,
whatever, if it's thin or white, like really being true to ourselves. So I think that's a great point. I remember you posted that and I liked it and I
thank
was
you.
like, I needed that reminder. Okay, so for anyone that wants to, you know, follow you, learn more about your journey, like where are the best places to do that?
Yeah, so I think my Instagram, I have two Instagrams accounts. One is Morning Jojo 22, which is my personal one, but it's public. I post a lot about like social justice issues, and then Catracha Fitness is my fitness Instagram account, Catracha Fitness. Yes, and that one is all of the above: EDM, Latin EDM, fitness, movement, community, advice about HIIT workouts, and then I have a LinkedIn as well, which I'm a recruiter, principal recruiter. So if you if you need any advice or anything like that about recruiting, I'm a great asset for that. But yeah.
Yeah. I definitely be calling you for that. And then the final thing is if someone is in Boston or like visits Boston and they are like, I need to find a workout with Joanna.
Yes, so I'm actually part of this Boston Fitness series. So every year, every summer and fall, they have a Boston Fitness series, and it's actually free to the public. So I have a partnership with the city of Boston. You can go for free. So you can find me with the city of Boston, the fitness series. Just go to boston.gov, and I'll be there. So
All right, Joanna, well, thank you so much. This was awesome. I appreciate you. And
It
yeah,
was so
talk
much
soon.
fun.
If you are listening to this, that means you made it to the end of the episode, which is amazing. So thank you. I'm sure that means that there was something that spoke to you, that there was something that was interesting to you. And I want to hear what it was. So I know I enjoyed myself. I loved talking to Joanna. I love learning more about her story, her upbringing, and I hope that you did too. If you are interested in knowing when the next episode comes out, which right now I'm committing to minimum one a month, please hit subscribe, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and you can also sign up to our newsletter at edithsuarez.com. So thank you. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.